last week we covered the material that is up here right now. And he says, go eat your bread with joy and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already accepted your works. Let your garments always be white, and let your head lack no oil. Then he says, live joyfully with the wife whom you love all the days of your vain life, which he has given you under the sun, all your days of vanity, for that is your portion in life and in the labor which you perform under the sun. As far as this word vain, vanity just keeps coming up over and over and over again in the book of Ecclesiastes. And it's the idea of pointlessness. And it's from the aspect of living this life, everything you do, when life is over, you're gone. Everything you did doesn't make any difference whatsoever. And to you, it doesn't, you don't have any memory, or you don't know what's going to happen after you, or what's happening after you're gone. You don't know what's happening after you're gone. Anyway, it seems pointless. It seems vain. What's the point of life after all? He just keeps bringing it up, bring it up, bring it up. And the whole point that he's going to be driving at is this isn't it. We're just visitors here. We're just sojourners here. This isn't it. So we need to just treat it with how God has intended it for it to get treated. And there's something more down the road. Once we leave this life, that's when life really begins. If you are in relationship with God. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. So, as it says there, this is the sixth out of six such statements. He says it 6 times. Enjoy life, enjoy what you do, and make sure that you, well, as he says there, let your garments always be white. Let's talk about living a righteous life. You have to consider that. That's part of happiness in this life, is to live under God's rule and living according to his will, because he doesn't make rules just to make rules. The things that he wants us to do are the things that are the best for us and the best way to enjoy life. But he just says, just be happy with your wife whom you love all the days of your life. It's not a bad thing to enjoy this life. And that's really what life under the sun offers to us, is the ability, is chances to enjoy. I mean, you look around you, and my sister and brother-in-law and myself and Sue also have been doing lots of stuff. We saw the tulips over in Mount Vernon, just absolutely gorgeous. We've driven over mountains a couple times, and I can't remember all the places that we've seen, gone way up in the hill around here to look down in the valley, and just seeing the beauty and just enjoying it, and thinking how wonderful God's creation is, and just getting out of it what God intended for us to get out of this life. And that's enjoying what you have while you have it. We looked last week that once you die, once you pass away, you can't do anything more. You can't do anything more about anything. And so make the best of the time that you have. So we're going to continue on now in chapter 9. And he says, whatever your hand finds to do with your might, for there's no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you're going. So again, he's repeating this same theme. First is, what's that?
Or here's why.
Oh, yeah. Here's why you should make the best. Here's why you should do everything with everything you got, is because there is no work or device. Device means, in this case, it means reasoning. There's no work, there's no reasoning. You're not thinking about anything once you enter the grave. And so the best thing to do is make the best out of what you're doing. Whatever your hand finds to do with your might. That's how to have success in life under the sun, where it seems like all is vanity. You come to the end of the life and can't take anything with you. What do I have to gain out of this life? There isn't anything as far as life under the sun. All it offers is the chance to enjoy what God has created for us. There is something more. I'm not saying we should ignore spirituality, and that this is saying ignore spirituality, but he keeps repeating under the sun, on earth. He's just talking about wisdom and finding how to live this life on earth. And ultimate conclusion is enjoy what you have, what God has given you. At the end, he's going to say, fear God and keep his commandments. This is the whole of man. That's part of living life, enjoying life. It doesn't mean just to do anything you want whenever you want. You're always thinking about the one who made you and that sort of thing, but enjoy it. Don't waste your life by striving after stuff that's not going to make any difference once you're gone. If you work hard to get money, you save up $1 million in the bank, and then you die, and he says, you don't know what the people after you are going to do with what you leave to them. They may or may not do anything wise to it. And it's not the way to get through life, is to pile up stuff or, just do anything. It could be there's people that have car collections that are, they have 100 cars in their collection. Well, they can't take it with you. Barbara, did you have a?
New Testament where the man said he was going to build more sheds or whatever, and he died that night.
Yeah, that's just, he just got carried away with acquiring, and Jesus. Yeah, yeah, Gene.
We have a word, we call it recreation, might be hunting, fishing, playing golf, or like you work on old cars. That's what it actually does to you. Doing activities you enjoy doing, improve your attitude, and improves everything about your life.
Right. Nobody likes being around a grump. Sue can tell you that. I haven't always been, but everyone likes being around somebody with a smile on their face, somebody that has joy in their heart. That's how to relate to people. That's how to find success in this life, is to learn how to enjoy what you have. One guy might have $1 million and the other guy have 40 cents in his pocket, but you can still enjoy everything around you. If you got 40 cents in your pocket, you can still look out that window and see the beauty of God's creation. You still can breathe the air that millionaire breathes. You're breathing the same air. You look up in the sky, you're seeing the same view that the millionaire sees. These are the things that are important, the things that we can enjoy. All that wealth and things that you can collect, that's not where true joy is. And so that's what he's trying to get across. It sounds really doom and gloom a lot of the time. Oh, it's vanity, it's empty, it's not anything. He's trying to impress on people that all this stuff, he says all through the book, I set about to find out through wisdom. And then he talks about women, he talks about riches, he talks about power, and that none of those are the answer. The answer is enjoy what you have, however much you have. If you've got some power, enjoy it and use it properly. If you've got wealth, enjoy it, use it properly. If whatever God has given you, and we all know that we all don't have the same amount of everything. This is not a communist world that God created. He didn't make it that way. You just enjoy what God has given you. And even if you're on the low end of the totem pole, according to society, God's creation is out there and he provides for you. That's all that matters. Gene?
Remind me of the scripture, I can't remember where it's found, it says, whatever you do, do heartily, as in the Lord.
Right. Yeah. That's in Romans and 12. I mean, yeah, Romans 12. So it's just important that we uh, live life that way. So then in verse 11, he says, I returned and saw under the sun that, and then he's going to say something. A couple times now we've already seen him saying, I returned. And what that means is I'm going back, starting a new search. First I searched out about power and how much that would help you, or can you find happiness there. I did women, and see, is that where happiness lies? I did wealth. Is that where happiness lies? And he's saying, I'm going back now, and I'm looking from this aspect. And he says, and notice he says under the sun again, this is life under the sun. The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. This is how life works here on earth. The race isn't to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor the bread to the wise, nor riches to men of understanding, nor favor to men of skill, but time and chance happen to them all. Now, God does intervene at times. It's not all time and chance. God can plug himself in anywhere he wants. But life under the sun, without considering God, it's time and chance. It happens to everyone. We just watched a movie last night about the Wrecking Crew, that group of session musicians that played on all the songs that you thought the people that were singing it played on. These guys, so many songs. But one of the guys that was a session guy, he made millions of dollars doing it because he was so good as a drummer. He had a Rolls Royce, he had a big house. What else did he have? I can't remember. Yeah, he had a yacht. And then his wife decided, I don't want to live with you anymore. The divorce happened. He had to sell every single thing. Ended up parking cars in Phoenix or something like.
It's a security
Oh yeah,
animal.
yeah. He was a mall cop in Phoenix. After having all those millions, things can happen just like that. It's not. He was really good, but that doesn't mean he had ultimate success. The race isn't to the swift necessarily. We all know that proverb about the hare and the hare and the turtle, tortoise and the hare, I guess is how they word it. And so things don't go like you think they would. They don't necessarily do that. The battle doesn't necessarily belong to the strong. What would be an example of that kind of thing? Somebody using their wisdom to trick the people. There's numerous.
I thought, you know, and then what did it all come to? They lost their money, he went to jail and died. Nobody won.
Yeah, and a biblical example is Gideon. How God said, "This send those soldiers home. We don't need this many," and he finally pared it down to 300 against a whole army from a whole country. I don't know how many thousand that they were going against, but they blew horns and had lights up all around this army, and that made them think that there was a huge army surrounding them, and so they were so scared they ran around and killed each other, and Gideon ended up winning the war. But it wasn't through power. It wasn't through strength. It was through using your mind and working with the way other people's minds work. They see a light up on the hill, they expect there's 20 or 30 guys behind that light. Well, in that case, there was only one person behind the light. Every one of them had a light, so it made it seem like there was a huge army. So the battle's not necessary to the strong, nor bread to the wise. Uh, Things happen, time and chance happen, even to the wise. You can be as smart as anybody as wise, and yet stuff happens. Stuff happens by time and chance, things that you can't predict that will happen. Doesn't seem fair, maybe, but that is how life under the sun is. What you need to do is whatever happens, figure out how to enjoy what God has given you. There's always things to find joy in if you just look that direction instead of always looking for everything that's bad in your life. That will never get you happiness or joy in this life. Then he says, riches to men of understanding. Just because you know a lot and understand stuff doesn't mean you're going to get rich. People that real good at the stock market, buying, selling stuff. Have you ever heard of anybody losing everything he had because he made a bad choice, even though he was smart? That's the kind of thing that's how life works under the sun. Nor favor to men of skill. You can be really good at something, but my brother-in-law can tell you about, he's one of the most skillful people I've ever known. He can fix cars and he can do stuff, but there's a piece of his finger missing because something slipped, piece of wood slipped, and he got his finger in the table saw. So these things happen, even if you're skillful. Time and chance happens to all of us. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. But an important part about that, you learn from the book of Job, is just because bad things happen to you doesn't mean God's doing it to you. That's where we mess up a lot of times. We get mad at God because, how could you do this to me? Or how could you do that to that little child, or whatever? You can, everybody wants to blame God for everything that happens. No, time and chance is to blame for many things that happen. Life under the sun, that's how it works. Play the cards that you're dealt. Whatever hand you got, do the best you can with it and enjoy the game. And so that's his point. Then he says, here's why. That word for means here's why. For man also does not know his time. Like a fish in a cruel net, like birds caught in a snare, so the sons of men are snared in an evil time when it falls suddenly upon them. So everything he's been saying, enjoy what you have. Things don't always go the way you want it to. And he says, the end result is, the reasoning behind it all is, man doesn't know his time. You don't know when your time is up. Or even if you're not talking about your death, if I knew when that heart attack was going to come, I might have acted a little different that day. Wouldn't have been out in the desert on my bicycle. But this kind of thing, we don't know when stuff happens. And he gives these easy to understand examples, like a fish taken in a cruel net. That fish is swimming merrily along, and next thing you know, oh, how I can't get through here. The net pulls up, and maybe we all haven't seen Finding Nemo, but we understand that you caught in a net, they can't get out. Like birds caught in a snare, they're just walking along, pecking on the ground, trying to get some seeds, and next thing you know, a wire snaps up from a spring-loaded thing, and he's hanging by the wire until the hunter comes along and finishes him off. Whatever. Birds caught in a snare. This is how it happens. The sons of men. That's us. Every one of us is a son of men. The sons of men, that's people, are snared in an evil time, and it doesn't. That evil in Ecclesiastes isn't talking about immorality or that kind of evil. It's talking about, like I have written out there, a bad moment, a time of calamity, a season of trouble. We all get snared in bad moments, times of calamity, seasons of trouble. That happens to all of us, but we don't know when stuff's going to happen. We don't know when it is. And as he says at the end there, it falls suddenly upon them. Things just happen. Sometimes they happen really quick. You can't predict what's going to happen. So I put down at the bottom, the same principle is true for good moments as well. Sometimes you don't know when the good moment's going to come. You're driving along and you turn around a corner and there's this beautiful view of Mount Rainier, or something happens. You slip and fall on the ground, and there's a beautiful flower right there looking at you when you're laying on the ground. You don't know when either good or bad thing or bad times are going to be there. And so you just have to live and go with the flow. That sort of thing. Enjoy life while you have it. Then he says, verse 13, this wisdom I have also seen under the sun, and it seemed great to me. Remember, Solomon, wisest man that ever lived, and yet he's seeking wisdom. And we've already learned in Ecclesiastes, he said, you can't find it. No matter how smart you are, how wise you are, you really can't find the answers. They're not, God hasn't given us the answers to everything. But he says, I've been looking under the sun, I've been looking at about life on earth, and this thing I discovered seemed great to me. And here it is, verse 14. There was a little city with few men in it, and a great king came against it, besieged it, and built great snares around it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no one remembered that same poor man. So he's making a point. Somebody can do a really good thing. If they're wealthy and powerful, they might get remembered, and because they're in the news all the time, that kind of thing. But he says sometimes it happens that just this poor guy that has some wisdom figures out a way to save his family, or save, even in this case, save a whole city. But yet once it's all said and done, everybody forgets. They don't remember that. This, I put out the side there that verses 13 through 18 are a dialogue on wisdom, saying that wisdom is paramount and it should be heeded no matter who it comes from, rich and powerful, poor or lowly. In this case, he just illustrates it here by a poor, lowly guy. He can be wise too. Wherever you find wisdom, that's you need to heed it. Wisdom's wisdom wherever it comes from. And so then he says in verse 16, then I said, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. you and I go to a city council meeting. You know, we're just regular folks, and you're in front of the city council. Well, these guys are really important. At least they think they are. They feel like they are. And you offer a word of wisdom. What do you know? You're just a carpenter, or you're just a whatever. People don't respect people that are lower than them. They think they're smart. Everybody thinks they're smarter than the people that they feel superior over. That's how life under the sun works. Uh, you don't often listen to the wisdom of people that you don't respect socially, I guess you'd say. He says, nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised and his words are not heard. Words of the wise, spoken quietly, should be heard rather than the shout of a ruler of fools. So he's getting back to this ruler, rulee, I don't know what the word is, the followers of a ruler. There's been a few leaders that we could think of that have been fools, right? And evil, that's true. And do you want to follow their advice? Do you want to do what sometimes they make these choices, you think, oh man, that is the wrong thing to do. But they're the one in power, they're the one that's doing it. But you get somebody coming along and has some wise stuff to say, you better listen to them and do the wise thing rather than following a king or a president or whatever into doing stuff that's going to get you hurt even worse, or get you in more trouble, making it harder to enjoy this life. It's important. Wisdom is paramount. It's better than power. He says in verse 18, wisdom is better than weapons of war. I'm not going to say the last part just yet. We just talked about Gideon, and with 300 men, he conquered this whole army just by using wisdom and tricking the other people. There's that kind of stuff that has happened all the time. Wisdom, sometimes you can, by outsmarting somebody or outwising somebody, you can do things that a sword or a gun or whatever can't do. Wisdom is really important. Now, somebody remind me what wisdom is.
How to use your knowledge.
All right, it's the proper use of knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the wiser you can be. But you can't have wisdom unless you know stuff. You have to know stuff to be able to compare it and make decisions. And okay, this is, if this is true, then following the reasoning, this must be true over here. But if you don't know this, you can't get this. You can't get a proper conclusion. So knowledge is important to have, but just knowledge by itself doesn't do it. You've all known somebody that is real smart, but not smart enough to listen to the word of God. And all that wisdom isn't going to get them where they would like to be after they're gone from this life. So the smartness is good, because you can't have wisdom without intelligence, but you want to make sure you're using the intelligence that you have, the knowledge that you have, the way God intended for you to use it. That's where success comes in this life. The knowledge and the best way to use it, that's better than having a got a 6-gun in this pocket, a hand grenade in this pocket, I got a bazooka strapped on my back, a rifle in my hands. it's better just to be wise about stuff. You can get yourself in trouble by just relying on weapons of war. That's one of the things that can be a problem. The Nazis thought they were unstoppable. They had the weapons of war, the Luftwaffe, the what did they call the tank crew? I can't remember. The Panzer tanks and all that stuff, and they were successful for a while, but did that get them victory? No. Found out there was something that some other power that they finally shook too many trees, and things happened. They ended up not being victorious. So just having weapons of war isn't enough, or isn't the best. Wisdom's better than that. But then he says at the end of this, but one sinner destroys much good. A sinner, that word sinner is the word we always use for sin. It means missing the mark. But in this context, one of the definitions of this word means one who wanders from the way or misses the mark. And when you sin, are you missing the mark? Yeah. But can you miss the mark in other ways too? Yeah. And so he's talking about somebody, like it's put in the bottom there, in this context, means an imprudent or foolhardy person. Somebody who wanders from the mark of accomplishing some purpose, like winning a war, for example. Somebody who is imprudent, doesn't make the right decisions, a foolhardy person, they can do some real damage. I can't remember any specific examples, but in movies and stuff, you see the soldiers and the people upstairs, they make decisions. They have no clue what's going on the field, and they tell you to do stuff. And when they tell you to do stuff, you're supposed to do it, but going in, this is not going to turn out well. And uh, just somebody who makes bad decisions can really destroy much good. Okay, any comments or questions?
Put on the full armor of God takes a lot of dividends. And we have to know that in our lives. It's what kind of, if we're going to do something, we have to use the weapons that God supplied, not what we think we are capable of making. God supplied everything that Gideon needed. He supplied everything we all need. But we just have to trust.
Right. Yeah. And when we talk about the armor of God, we're talking spiritual things. That's not what he's talking about in Ecclesiastes, but the point is true. And I think you were thinking about just in this life, God provides what we need. And if we use wisdom, we can figure life.
Trust in it. We can trust all we want. If we have that on, the calamity is liable to come to even that. And, we've seen churches fall apart because of one sinner who destroys much good. One person is not acting right, being a sinner. That's where I would apply that myself. In other words, I've seen it, and I think we all have. But when we go in toward evil ways, having our own way instead of examining ourselves in the light of God.
Right. And that's where applying stuff is important. In Ecclesiastes 9, you don't want to ever forget that he's talking about life under the sun. This is how life works while we're here. But a lot of the principles that he has in here applies to how life works on a spiritual level as well. And so he doesn't make that application very much in Ecclesiastes. He's just, I wanted to find out how to get through this life. That's what I want to know. Where is happiness in this life? But a lot of the things that he says here applies to the other life, and that's the spiritual life that we live too, because we're all twofold beings. We have a soul, a body, a physical body. We also have a soul or spirit, and you can't separate the two without dying. Then the body goes away. But he's just dealing with life on earth here. But as we go on into the New Testament and study there, you can say, well, we said it already. Obviously, Paul has read the book of Ecclesiastes. You see words from Ecclesiastes in some of Paul's writings, and so he makes a spiritual application to things, and so we can feel free to make spiritual applications. But the point is, I want you to know about this life, what to do here, how to enjoy this life, or how to get the best out of this life. That's what I sought to do. That's what I use my wisdom to try to find out. What's the answer to life under the sun? Okay, well, any more comments, Gene?
Well, I think we've all had this experience. We run across people who think they are the wisest, they have the most knowledge, they have the most judgment and so on. Usually that person is the one that's the most lacking in these things.
Yeah, be careful of anybody that brags on themselves. Okay, well, it's almost time for class to end, so I'm not going to go into chapter 10. Sorry, Keith, but I had Keith print out the papers for chapter 10, thinking we'd be getting in there, but he can pass them around, yeah. But anyway, for now, class dismissed. Appreciate all your attention.